Hello, world. Today we're going to be doing another sort of drama beef video about the conflict between us and the YouTuber heavyweights Lightfields, Andrew Lordson. Um, and to get us started, that is Cody.
And that's Kyle. And I'll actually argue with you for a second and say that it's not entirely drama beef because, like, that implies that it could kind of be a two-way thing, right? Exactly, reciprocal. Um, this is more so of a reactionary type of thing because we are going to be giving our reactionary responses to the content that this fellow has made recently. Um, and so, yeah, it's not so much drama beef, it's reaction stuff. So yeah.
So you use the term reactionary, and are you aware of reactionary, the connotation that the as within the conservative movement?
No.
Yes. Okay. So once again, this is just like me nerding out, and like he actually, if he watches this, might know about like conservatives have typically at certain points been referred to as reactionary because they are reacting to progressive or to progress, really.
Action. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
No.
the whole you instead of like YouTube reacts is like a thing, but it's not reactionary in the way that like political. Yeah.
Got it.
Philosophy thing. Yeah.
You wanted to understand and explain the context.
Yes. No, because I'm sorry, but when you say reactionary, you didn't say like this is a reactionary. You said reactionary. And that
Okay,
is,
let's get past it.
there's connotation to it.
All right. So the first video that we wanted to talk about is the "We Are Humans, We Are Not Workers." I might be mislabeling it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You can go to his channel and find all the videos that we're gonna reference. And if I'm titling them, I will get them 90% right, but it might not be verbatim. So anyways, he at the beginning of this video talks about one of the podcast guys being in favor of a tax rate of 90% for over 3 million. And I honestly don't know if Andrew is aware of what the tax rates were during what are considered America's most prosperous periods of time.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I really do actually, and I didn't say this before. I actually kind of wish you had watched that PBD podcast that that he's referencing in the beginning, because that is what they're talking. Sam Cedar is the person that is in favor of that tax policy,
Sure.
and basically, yeah, that's what the entire video is about, is that podcast. And I kind of wish you had watched it because you know they say a lot of things in that podcast.
So one thing that I think is not really mentioned in there as well is talking about corporate tax policy, because personal tax policy and corporate tax policy are two entirely different things. And that's where I think we are really letting ourselves like have the bag put over our eyes or whatever. Um, is with corporate tax policy, is like it's corporations that are really hurting us on the tax level. It's not the individual who inherits a mass fortune. Don't get me wrong, that person should be taxed. You and I were taxed when we inherited money, right? And so that should happen. But at the same time, I really do think that corporate tax rates is where the focus should be for people who think taxes are fucked up.
Yeah, so uh another reason why you should watch that podcast at some point is because they talk a lot about tax policy, and like very early on just show that like what you just said is a nuance in tax policy that they would never even think of. And I'm not talking about Sam Cedar, I'm talking about PBD, Paul Pat Betrick, David, and his lackeys, the people who are on his podcast, and Andrew mentions them and whatnot. And it's basically Sam Cedar in a 3v1 where he is on a podcast, you know, run by Patrick Bet David, and they start talking about tax policy, and it's like, dude, you guys are like clearly making it obvious that you have a very, very, very horrible understanding of what our tax policy is, because they start talking about like entitlement programs and how, yeah,
They're
dude,
so
it's
small.
so insane because like
They're so small.
no, they talk about entitlement programs like Social Security going bankrupt, and it's like, well, that's a myth as well, because it's like it's not going bankrupt, but like at a certain point, like it'll run out of money. It's like it's not the same as going bankrupt. Yeah, exactly. And it's like you guys don't even understand that, and it's just like kind of truly sad because like Sam Cedar like dunks on these dudes. And this is something you've said previously about Andrew is like, and we'll talk about how he's like extremely convoluted and just like goes off on tangents. But one of the things you mentioned previously is like he talked about not doing research going into a conversation.
Why?
Yeah, no, exactly. No, you criticized him for doing
I
something.
did. And
Yeah,
I was saying, why? Why would you do that?
He talks about this podcast and says he literally only watched 45 minutes of it. And it's like, dude.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, he just doesn't like conservatives or
Well, I will say
getting dunked on and made look stupid, which is what Sam Cedar did.
there was a video of his that was only 10 minutes, and I was about 6 minutes into it, and I was like, I can't.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Right. So
I torture myself.
I even did that, or I have even done that with like liberal, like the Bosch thing that I watched the other day. Like it was like 2 hours long, but I only watched like 45 minutes of it. That's not because I wasn't enjoying it. I just, didn't have the time.
The 2 hour Bosch video. Like,
Right, it's 2 hour Bosch video. I was like, this is good, but I don't have time to watch this. So
yeah. Yeah, just before we move on to the next one, yeah, dude, it's just once again you need to watch this podcast, PBD, Sam Cedar, because that's the thing. Is like it's literally him just talking about that, and it's funny because like obviously, Andrew takes the side of like PBD and his lackeys, and is like,
right.
He calls Sam Cedar a communist, and like that's just like. It's just not true. Like Sam Cedar.
I don't think he knows what communism or fascism truly is.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get to all of that later. But before we move on,
Patrick
Bet David talked. He literally like this is one of the things is like they talked about a lot of things like tax policy, obviously, income inequality, a bunch of different stuff. On this PBD podcast, where once again it was like a 3v1 where Sam Cedar was like the only progressive against a bunch of conservatives. And that's fine because Sam Cedar's a boss and like
right.
But PBD says that like the American experiment or whatever it is the greatest case study that exactly. And I'm sorry, I got to read from my notes here, but he says that the American experience / case study or whatever validated that the best economic system is capitalism. And it's like, he just says that and like a pile of other things that he says. And it's like, okay. So like Andrew gets pissed off about like something that Sam Cedar said in 45 minutes in and just stopped watching. Like PBD the whole time is just saying like retarded shit like that. And I'm just like, all right, I'll watch this whole thing, put myself through it because I actually enjoy engagement like that.
So something I'm just wondering, and that's because like you started out this whole argument with it being like a case study, right? America's the greatest case study. And so hold on, shut up, let me talk. So um just my question to you is, what was the financial system of the Roman Empire? Mercantilism?
Yeah, it was probably a form of mercantilism.
Okay.
Yeah,
We should talk more about that.
When you're getting into ancient societies,
yeah,
economic systems can become more convoluted. Dude, I recently just found out that like there were golden age ancient civilizations that were basically engaging in like full-blown state communism. And I didn't know this before, but like Mesopotamia, Babylon, like ancient civilizations were practicing like hardcore communism.
Okay, so you were saying you wanted to move on from this #1 video, and I literally have a last note that is 4 words. It's 4 words, and you just look. Yeah, says I feel pretty free, and this is kind of a common theme of Andrew's is that we are not free, and I feel pretty free. And over my experience as an American citizen over the last 35 years, it was just our birthday. So
no,
I turned 35. I'm pretty sure I feel pretty free as an American.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes.
Right. I own a home. I do
I feel very free.
Job, so I know you love your job. So
there was a period of 10 years where this was illegal in America. So yes, I feel pretty free.
right. Exactly.
This will come full circle before we can move on to the next one. I feel pretty safe.
Oh yeah, safe too, definitely.
It's one of the last points I will make
on that video.
Not on one of the last videos. It's gonna come full circle way later on.
Got it. All right. So the second one, unfortunately, I have a lot to say about this one, and it's the jab. So if you want to pull up your notes for the jab, I'll get us started. Because actually my first note is well into the video at minute 5:23, and I wrote that down, even though we said, or I said, I was like, I'm done trying to keep track of time with this.
I can get us started with a point.
Before that, yeah, go ahead.
So he talks about the massage therapy community where he lives.
Yeah.
Becoming, I honestly, I know he uses the word Nazi, which is like, okay. But may or may not use the word fascist in this particular example. So really, like, yeah, that's the point, and we'll talk about fascism, I'm certain. But that isn't really my point. My point was that he was talking about the massage therapy community in where he lives in the Northwest. And I didn't really kind of realize this before, like the nuance of what he was saying is really that I'm pretty sure he was driven out of the massage therapy community because he wouldn't get vaccinated.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fuck yeah, you didn't think of that. Yeah, duh. I'm sorry, right? Like that's. Do you think you would be allowed to perform, or like he said his license is still valid, but
no. For my school, for example, the school that I taught at during COVID, um, it was you had to sign a waiver saying you did not get vaccinated if you
Yeah.
didn't get vaccinated. And that's all it was. And that's so like this fellow likes to say, oh, we live in a fascist state because you have a mandated vaccine. And it's like, you work in a certain fucking job and they tell you it's like a drug test. Like
George Washington made the Continental Army get vaccinated. Was that fashion? Was George Washington being a fascist?
Yes, exactly. And so that's actually kind of the main point that I was kind of getting at with the vaccination actually. Sorry, I forgot.
No, you're
Because
because
fascism and mandated vaccines is like if you want to do a certain job, then yes, they might require you to get vaccinated.
yeah,
But for example, my new job would not require me to get vaccinated or sign a waiver, which I did. Or I just got vaccinated, and so that was it.
yeah, too.
Right,
Thing I did, and I did it.
right.
Yeah, I got a
I
shot
also
in my
got
arm.
COVID.
Like I've been vaccinated, so like, yeah,
And
you just get vaccinated.
getting
We're
COVID
humans
worse.
in the 21st century. You should probably get vaccines.
And I know you got COVID too, and COVID was worse than the vaccine or whatever. I didn't even
No.
have any pain from the vaccine. Like, yeah.
Oh well, I got sick from the vaccine. Yeah, no. For
So
round one,
Matt,
not
so
round
Matt,
two. Round two was fine, but the first round, I got sick. There's side effects to vaccines. Like, yeah, that's just ridiculous. So this is actually because I thought we were gonna because of I told you I misordered my notes. This is where he's like, I want to like, how do I help you? How do I feel for you? In
pause,
the video, and it's like, don't worry, bro.
pause,
I'm fine. I feel good. I
pause,
feel
because
very, very safe having been vaccinated.
cool.
Sorry.
So anyways, that's where my notes kick in. And so that's what I was saying.
Perfect.
So his quote, literally word for word, he says, a collective conversation with compassion.
Yep.
And
No.
my biggest beef with that is all I am trying to do with you. Andrew, I am speaking to you directly. There is no other way for me to communicate with you. I want to talk about a lot of things, the vaccine, chemtrails, other things. But you say you want to have a collective conversation with compassion. I will absolutely be compassionate. And this is my invitation.
Do you not? Okay. So I'm just going to point out the obvious contradiction in the fact that we've talked about how he says all collectivist roads lead to like ruin or disaster. And my quotation is have a, and here's where the quote starts, conversation on a collectivist level.
And that's something he's saying he supports.
Why would you want to have a conversation on a collectivist level if all collectivist roads lead to tyranny?
Exactly. Right.
He directly contradicts himself all the time.
And so that's something he's not aware of, or that's something that he doesn't have self-awareness about. But I will say there are certain things that he does have self-awareness about that is kind of admirable. And that goes into one of my next notes. And he calls himself angry and calls himself zealous. And I'm just not an angry zealot. So, like, that's just not, yeah, I'm just not that mad about things. And I'm not zealous about anything.
I
Yeah,
I'll own my anger today. I'm like an angry guy.
sure, why not? But yeah, and then my next note, it's funny because it's like literally what you were saying that shifted our conversation, and he says word for word, how do we support you right now? And he's talking about the people who are, again, quote, combating the poison inside of you. That's the vaccine, the jab video. We're still on the jab. Um, and then the last quote of his that I'll say is, I'm sorry you're going through this. Yeah, and again, this kind of references back to what you were saying. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I'm good though. Thanks. Thanks for your concern.
Thanks,
Um,
bro. Appreciate it.
but
I'm good.
no, since we're on this one, I actually
Probably better than you.
so I'm a LeBron James fan. And so when this all happened,
Oh,
I was keenly aware of it and I read stories. And so here's what happened. And actually
no,
I'm
I actually
about to
feel
pull up
bad.
my notes and I will in a second. Go ahead.
I feel bad for making light of this because it that is
What?
no, that's the one video he made where like the content matter, the subject matter I actually care about.
Yeah, he's just wrong. He's wildly wrong.
Yes,
Wildly.
that also go, but like for the most part, when he makes his videos, I don't care about like a lot of it, but like this one, I kind of did.
So, anyways, what happened to Bronny, and I knew this, and I researched it today to find out exactly what it said. And you know what we'll do is I'm going to paraphrase it right now instead of pulling it up on my phone. But basically, this is what it is. Bronny suffered from myocarditis. And what myocarditis is something that can cause immediate cardiac arrest. And that's what Bronny James suffered. So Bronny James suffered cardiac arrest during practice. Um, myocarditis is most common in young people. Bronny James is only 19 years old. And males and athletes and African Americans. So, like, literally every single checkbox that you could have for being a high risk person for myocarditis, Bronny James checked. And so that's the thing is like, you just go, oh, and that was another thing is one of the main articles that I read about this was from fortune.com. And I like to find out the bias of sources because that's just something I do. And actually, I had it pulled up earlier, and that's unfortunate that I don't anymore because basically what it was saying is that myocarditis being related to the COVID-19 vaccine is not scholarly at all. And like there's no medical evidence of this. So yeah. Elon Musk said it and it ended up in the New York Post. So
Yeah. So we can talk about Elon Musk later, I guess, but really, like, yeah, once again, all I know really about my myocarditis, there we go, is based on stuff like from the news a couple of years ago. Like they were like making a big deal about this.
Yep.
And they were rolling out the COVID vaccine.
Right.
And they were, yeah, once again being like, oh, myocarditis is happening, and like the thing is, you're actually less likely to get myocarditis if you got the vaccine, but like we were
There
actually
has
like it was this whole big thing, and like it's kind of just a thing. Like it's a heart problem.
it is inflammation, so that's what it
Nothing
is.
to do with the
Yep,
vaccine.
it's so what myocarditis is what I forgot to mention is that is an inflammation issue, and so COVID itself, COVID the actual sickness, and you would know this, and I would know this because we had it. It causes inflammation of the heart.
Yeah,
That literally
the
causes.
respiratory. Well, that's the lungs, but yeah.
Well, the heart is part of the respiratory system.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, anyways, that's number two. We got
No,
through it.
sorry, before we move on, like no, there myocarditis is once again just like a it is something that young athletes are prone to. There we go. Because
Young
yes,
black male athlete.
inflammation type of thing. How are you going to inflame something? And notice that I didn't say inflammate because I know how to use words. But how do you inflame something? Exercise.
Right.
Athletic. So athletes were always predisposed to myocarditis.
And that's the same for the opposite is true. Is like what? How do you calm inflammation? Rest.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yep, that's it. Ice and rest. That's how you calm inflammation.
Yeah. Chill it the fuck out. All right, move to the next one.
Number three. All right, number three, we've got a lot to go on. It's class granularity. We're definitely going to have to do part two, but let's get started. So, this is an interesting one because my first note is about him explaining the idea of his title. And, excuse me, I feel like he does this frequently. And not only that, but I also feel like something he does frequently is over explain a basic idea of what he's saying and then not explain like past that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
no. He explains the idea, but then doesn't support it.
No, the entire video is basically him oversimplifying the idea of divide and conquer.
Yes, yep, right. Which he mentioned multiple times.
No, well,
yeah, he does.
Okay, fair enough.
So, anyways, the first one that I have as his quote is the level of which we are exploring the details. And it's like, well, yeah, because that's the level that we were discriminatory. So, like, the details are looked into because those were the details that we discriminated against, and that goes directly into your rambling about black trans teenagers or whatever. And it's like, okay, so you have a whole thing about black trans people. So I want to let you go actually because
my note says why the fuck? Question mark. So that's really like the only expansion I can give because like you were trying to hand it over to me and it's like, yeah, nope. My notes have nothing to say about that except which I was wondering. I was like, why did I write this? So that must be why I wrote why the fuck because I was going to talk about the linguistics of him using the word granularize.
Right, because that was right at the beginning of the video.
Can I just
Yeah.
So uh, you don't buy granularized sugar?
By granulated sugar.
Buy granulated sugar. Granularized is just like is not a word. And this is what's really interesting is like in one of the first conversations that me and him ever had, he accused me of using esoteric language. So yeah,
Come on.
so esoteric basically means that like if you're using somebody or if you're accusing somebody of using esoteric language, you're basically saying that you're talking or using words, vernacular, vocabulary that only people specifically researched in the topic that you were talking about would
Well, no.
understand.
Right.
That, yes, exactly. So, like, esoteric itself is an esoteric word.
Oh, yes.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, exactly. And like, he's accused me of being it's like, dude, I keeps it pretty simple most of the time.
I think so